Give him one more day. At 4:47 in the morning, Alpha King Ethan Blackwood stopped in the doorway of the royal quarantine stable and wondered if the cold had finally begun playing tricks on him. He had come expecting silence. The healers had warned him before midnight that Ghost, the oldest white wolf in the royal guard, would not survive until dawn. Instead, 6 wolves were breathing softly inside their stalls, and in the middle of them slept Lily Bennett. The rejected Omega was curled in the hay beside Ghost, her back against the wooden wall, her thin brown coat spread over the old wolf instead of herself. Frost silvered the loose strands of her pale blonde hair. Her bare hands were tucked beneath Ghost's neck, trembling slightly from the cold even in sleep. Ethan remained perfectly still. He knew Lily only by reputation. Quiet, unclaimed, an Omega assigned to the lowest stable duties after no pack family had requested her service. People rarely noticed her. Apparently, neither had he. Ghost's chest rose. Fell. Rose again. Ethan stared. That alone should have been impossible. His boot shifted against the frozen floor. Lily woke instantly. Her blue eyes widened, and before she recognized him, she wrapped both arms protectively around Ghost. "Please don't take him yet," she whispered. He made it through the night. Then her gaze traveled upward to Ethan's face. Every trace of sleep vanished. "Your Majesty." She tried to stand, but Ghost stirred beneath her coat, and she immediately settled back beside him. Ethan should have demanded an explanation. The quarantine order was absolute. No servant was permitted inside after midnight. Instead, he looked around the stable. Bowls of fresh water stood beside every stall. Blankets had been folded beneath weakened bodies. Small handwritten notes recorded breathing, temperature, appetite, and the exact times each wolf had awakened. This wasn't one reckless visit. "How many nights?" Ethan asked. Lily lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry. How many nights have you slept here?" Her fingers tightened gently in Ghost's fur. 11. Ethan's expression changed almost imperceptibly. "Why?" Lily looked at Ghost as though the answer were obvious. "Because everyone else stopped coming." The words were soft. They landed harder than accusation. Ethan walked closer. Ghost opened one cloudy eye and, for the first time in 3 days, lifted his head. Lily smiled. It was small, exhausted, and completely meant for the wolf. "See?" she murmured. "I told you morning would come." Something deep inside Ethan stirred at the sound of her voice, something ancient and watchful that had been silent for years. His wolf. Ethan ignored it. He turned toward the door without ordering Lily removed. But before leaving, he glanced back once. She had already forgotten the king was there. She was adjusting the coat around Ghost, rubbing warmth into his ears while dawn slowly turned the stable windows gray. Ethan returned the next morning before sunrise. He told himself it was to check on Ghost. Then he returned the morning after that. And the morning after that. Each time, Lily was there. Each time, one of the wolves everyone had given up on seemed a little stronger. And each morning, Ethan's wolf became harder to ignore. By the 4th morning, Ethan could no longer pretend he was checking only on Ghost. He arrived at 4:40, 7 minutes earlier than usual, and found Lily moving quietly between the stalls with a lantern in one hand and a bucket of warm water in the other. She had learned every wolf's habits. Ash refused water unless she held the bowl near his muzzle. Willow slept better when Lily hummed softly. Ranger became restless whenever the stable doors opened. Ghost simply watched her wherever she went. Ethan remained outside long enough to notice something else. The wolves trusted her. These were Royal Guard wolves, animals trained to respond to only a handful of handlers, yet they relaxed when Lily approached. Even Ethan's own wolf seemed unusually calm in her presence. "You are early," Lily said without turning. Ethan paused. Most people sensed him and immediately became nervous. Lily merely continued replacing a blanket. "You knew I was here?" Ghost knew. She nodded toward the white wolf. "He always looks at the door before you enter." Ghost gave Ethan a slow, almost accusing stare. Ethan nearly smiled. "Nearly? How is he?" "Stronger, but something is still wrong." Lily's expression tightened. "They improve overnight, then weaken after feeding." Ethan looked toward the untouched bowl beside Ghost. "You think the food is making them sick?" "I do not know yet." Lily quickly added, "I am not a healer." "You notice things." She finally looked at him. Nobody listens when an Omega notices things. Ethan held her gaze for a moment. "I am listening." The simple words seemed to surprise her more than any royal command could have. Before she could answer, footsteps sounded outside. Stable Master Marcus Reed entered with 2 guards behind him. His polished boots stopped the instant he saw Lily beside Ghost. "You again." Lily straightened. Marcus looked toward Ethan, apparently not noticing him in the shadowed aisle. "I ordered these stalls cleared yesterday. These animals have already cost the palace enough." Lily stepped between Marcus and Ghost's stall. "They are getting better." Marcus gave a humorless laugh. "They are dying animals. They still want to live." The stable went quiet. Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Maybe that is why they tolerate you. Worthless creatures recognize a rejected omega." Lily flinched, but she did not move. Ethan saw it clearly. She was afraid, yet her body remained between Marcus and the wolves. "Remove her," Marcus ordered the guards. Neither guard had taken a second step when a low growl rolled through the stable. Everyone froze. Ethan walked into the lantern light. Marcus's face lost its color. "Your Majesty." Ethan's gaze settled on him. "You were saying?" Marcus opened his mouth, but a sudden sound came from behind Lily. A shallow breath. Then silence. Lily spun around. "Ghost." The old white wolf sagged against the hay. Lily dropped beside him and pressed trembling fingers against his chest. "Nothing." "No. Come on, Ghost." Ethan crouched beside her as she carefully opened the wolf's mouth, searching for anything blocking his breathing. Then she stopped. Beneath Ghost's tongue was a dark stain no larger than a dime. Lily's face went pale. Ethan saw recognition in her eyes. "What is it?" She looked toward the other 5 stalls, then slowly toward the locked feed room at the end of the corridor. "Your Majesty," she whispered, "I do not think they are sick. Someone has been feeding them poison." Lily's voice was barely louder than the wolf's breathing, but every person in the stable heard her. Ethan looked from the dark stain beneath Ghost's tongue to the locked feed room. "Explain." Lily swallowed. "I saw the same mark yesterday on Willow. I thought it was an infection, but now Ghost has it too." She hurried to the next stall and gently lifted Ash's muzzle. Another dark stain appeared beneath his tongue. Then Ranger. Then Willow. The same mark. Ethan's expression hardened. "All 6. Lily nodded. "And they always get weaker after they eat." Marcus stepped forward too quickly. "Your Majesty, she is a stable servant, not a physician. Sick animals develop strange symptoms." Ethan did not look at him. "Open the feed room." Marcus hesitated. It lasted only a second, but Lily noticed. So did Ethan. "The key," Ethan said. Marcus reached into his coat and produced a brass key. His hand was steady, yet something about his eyes had changed. One of the guards unlocked the heavy wooden door. Ethan entered first. Lily followed. Shelves lined the narrow room, but the large grain bins were nearly empty. Lily stared. "That is impossible." Marcus appeared behind them. "We replaced the feed yesterday." "With what?" Ethan asked. "Fresh supplies from the southern storehouse." Lily walked toward the nearest bin and ran her fingers through the remaining grain. Nothing looked unusual. No dark powder. No strange smell. Whatever had been there was gone. "Where are the old sacks?" she asked. Marcus folded his arms. "Burned." Lily turned. "Why?" "Quarantine procedure." "Nobody told me that." "Because you had no business being here." Ethan's gaze moved between them. "Who prepared the wolves' meals?" Marcus answered immediately. "Daniel Price." Lily knew the name. Daniel was a young stable worker who arrived before sunset and usually left before midnight. He had always been kind to the wolves. "Bring him here," Ethan ordered. A guard left at once. Minutes passed. Ghost remained motionless in the stable, and Lily could barely stop herself from running back to him. Then the guard returned alone. "Daniel Price is missing, Your Majesty. His room is empty." Marcus exhaled sharply. "Then there is your culprit." Lily looked at him. Something felt wrong. Too easy. Ethan seemed to reach the same conclusion. "Seal the stable," he ordered. "Nothing leaves. Nobody destroys another grain of feed." "Fine, Daniel." Marcus bowed. "Of course, Your Majesty." Ethan returned to Ghost while Lily knelt beside the white wolf again. She rubbed his chest slowly, speaking his name under her breath. After several terrible seconds, Ghost released a faint breath. Lily's eyes filled with relief. "He is still here." Ethan crouched opposite her. "Then keep him here." Their eyes met over the old wolf. For the first time, Lily saw something beneath the Alpha King's controlled expression. Trust. Small, cautious, but real. By sunset, The royal grounds were under quiet investigation. Daniel had vanished. The discarded feed sacks could not be found. Marcus insisted the matter was contained. Lily did not believe him. Neither did Ethan. Near midnight, Lily woke in her small room to an unfamiliar smell drifting through the cracked window. Smoke. She ran outside without her coat. Orange light flickered beyond the courtyard. The quarantine stable was burning. Guards rushed toward the doors as 5 frightened wolves emerged through the smoke. Lily counted them once. Then again. 5. Her heart dropped. Ghost. Someone caught her arm. You cannot go inside. Lily pulled free. Somewhere beyond the smoke, a weak howl answered her. She ran toward the stable. Across the courtyard, Ethan heard someone shout her name. He turned just in time to see Lily disappear through the doorway. Ghost, where are you? Lily's voice vanished into the smoke as she moved through the stable, one hand covering her mouth and the other searching along the stall doors she knew by memory. Heat pressed against her face, but panic was colder. She heard Ghost again, a weak sound from the far end. I am coming. Outside, Ethan reached the stable just as a guard shouted that Lily was still inside. Something inside him surged with such force that he stopped hearing everything else. His wolf had never feared battle, storms, or darkness, yet now one thought thundered through him. Lily. Ethan entered after her. He found her near Ghost's stall, struggling with a latch that had warped in the heat. Move back, Ethan ordered. Lily turned, startled. You should not be here. Neither should you. Together they forced the stubborn gate open. Ghost lay against the rear wall, too weak to stand. Lily immediately knelt beside him. Come on, old man. We have watched too many sunrises together for you to quit now. Ghost lifted his head slightly. Ethan crouched to help, but a sharp crack sounded overhead. Lily. Ethan pulled her aside as a burning beam dropped across the aisle several feet away, blocking the path they had used to enter. Ghost tried to rise and failed. Lily slipped her arms beneath his shoulders. There has to be another way out. Ethan scanned the smoke-filled stable. Then Ghost did something strange. Instead of turning toward the main doors, he began scratching weakly at the wooden floor beneath his stall. Once. Twice. Again. Lily stared. He has been doing that for days. Ethan moved closer. Several floorboards looked newer than the surrounding wood. Stand back. He lifted one loose board. Beneath it was darkness. Not earth. Empty space. A narrow staircase descended below the stable. Cool air rose from it. Ethan looked at Lily. Take Ghost. They carefully guided the old wolf down the steps as smoke gathered above them. The passage beneath the stable was barely 5 feet wide, with stone walls that looked far older than the building overhead. Lily expected an old drainage tunnel. Instead, Ethan's lantern revealed shelves. Dozens of sealed containers lined them. Beside the containers sat ledgers, feed sacks, and wooden crates marked with the royal crest. Lily stopped breathing for a moment. Those are the missing sacks. Ethan opened one and examined the grain. A faint dark powder clung to the bottom. Lily's stomach tightened. That is what they were eating. Ghost suddenly became alert. His ears lifted, and a low warning sound came from his throat. Ethan felt it too. A scent lingered in the tunnel, faint but familiar. Someone had been here recently. Then Lily noticed 6 names written across an open ledger. Ghost, Ash, Willow, Ranger, Flint, Snow. Every sick wolf. Beside each name was the same date. Ethan turned the page. His expression became completely still. Lily stepped closer. What is it? Ethan did not answer immediately. On the next page was a list of palace locations, patrol schedules, and one carefully marked route leading directly to the royal residence. Ghost had not been poisoned because he was old. None of the wolves had. They had discovered something. Ethan looked down the dark passage extending beneath his palace, and his wolf stirred again, not with anger this time, but with certainty. Lily stood beside him, stood on her pale face, one hand resting protectively on Ghost. Ethan had spent years trusting guards, advisors, and bloodlines. Yet the person who had uncovered the danger was the rejected Omega everyone else had learned not to see. Then footsteps echoed somewhere deeper in the tunnel. They were not alone. Stay behind me, Ethan said as the footsteps drew closer. Lily almost argued, but Ghost moved first, placing his weakened body between her and the darkness. Ghost, no. She rested a hand against his shoulder. The old wolf was trembling, yet his attention remained fixed on the tunnel. Ethan raised the lantern. Royal Guard. Identify yourself. The footsteps stopped. For several seconds, nothing moved. Then a frightened voice answered. Your Majesty? A young man emerged from behind a stone corner with both hands raised. Lily recognized him immediately. Daniel. Daniel Price looked exhausted, his clothes covered in dust, his face pale with fear. Ethan's expression remained unreadable. You disappeared. Because someone wanted it to look like I poisoned the wolves. Daniel glanced toward the tunnel behind him. I found the powder 3 nights ago. I was going to report it, but Stable Master Reed caught me examining the feed. Yesterday, he told me to burn the old sacks. I refused. That night, someone searched my room. Lily looked at the missing feed sacks stacked along the wall. So you hid them here? Daniel shook his head. No. I followed Marcus. Silence settled over the tunnel. Ethan stepped closer. You saw him enter this passage? Twice. But he was never alone. Daniel reached inside his coat slowly and removed a folded sheet of paper. I found this beside the crates. Ethan opened it. The page contained delivery dates and coded initials. One set appeared repeatedly beside the Royal Patrol schedule. Marcus Reed. But another set of initials appeared above his, followed by a seal Lily had seen only once before, stamped on official orders from the Royal Council. Ethan folded the paper. Who else knows you found this? Nobody. A distant crash rolled through the passage, followed by the muffled roar of the fire above them. Lily looked at Ghost. His breathing had become shallow again. We need to get him outside. Daniel pointed down the tunnel. There is an exit about 200 yards east of the stable. I found it while hiding. Ethan gathered the ledgers while Daniel took the lantern. Lily encouraged Ghost forward one slow step at a time. The old wolf stumbled twice, and each time she stopped with him. You do not have to prove anything, Ethan said quietly. Lily glanced at him. Neither does he. Ethan understood. She was not trying to prove Ghost was useful. She simply believed being weak did not make a life disposable. They reached an iron door hidden behind thick ivy beyond the palace wall. Cold night air rushed over them as Daniel pushed it open. Guards were already searching the grounds. Ethan called for them, but Ghost suddenly collapsed in the grass. Lily dropped beside him. Ghost. His eyes remained open, but his breathing was fading. She pressed both hands gently against his chest. Stay with me. Just a little longer. Ethan knelt opposite her. Then something changed. Ghost's eyes shifted from Lily to Ethan, and a faint silver light appeared around their edges. Ethan froze. His own wolf surged forward with startling recognition. Not danger. Not command. Recognition. Ghost lowered his head beneath Lily's hand in an ancient gesture of acceptance reserved for the royal bloodline. Daniel stared. Your Majesty, why is he bowing to her? Ethan had no answer. Lily seemed not to understand what had happened at all. She only whispered Ghost's name and kept her hands against him. Then Ghost drew a deeper breath. Once. Again. Stronger. Ethan felt his wolf rise beneath his skin, focused entirely on Lily, and this time the word inside him was unmistakable. Mate. Ethan said nothing about the word his wolf had given him. Not yet. Lily was still kneeling in the frozen grass, focused entirely on Ghost, and Ethan refused to turn her act of compassion into another burden she had never asked to carry. Within minutes, royal guards surrounded the hidden exit. Ethan ordered the 5 surviving wolves moved to a clean stone shelter where only Lily, Daniel, and 2 trusted healers could enter. Ghost refused to leave Lily's side. When a healer approached with a blanket, the old wolf quietly leaned against Lily instead. She gave him a tired smile. Apparently, I am furniture now. Daniel laughed softly. Even Ethan almost did. Dawn was beginning to pale the eastern sky when Captain Samuel Grant arrived with news from the stable. The fire is contained, Your Majesty. We found evidence that it started in 2 separate locations. Ethan's gaze sharpened. An accident does not begin twice. No, Your Majesty. Samuel lowered his voice. And Marcus Reed is gone. Lily looked up. Gone. His quarters are empty. Daniel's face tightened. He knows we found the tunnel. Ethan handed Samuel the recovered ledger. Close every palace gate. Marcus is not to leave the grounds, but nobody confronts him alone. I want answers, not panic. Samuel nodded and departed. Lily watched Ethan carefully. You think Marcus was poisoning them? I think Marcus was involved. Ethan glanced at the Royal Council seal on the folded document. But he was taking instructions from someone with greater authority. Lily followed his eyes. Someone close to you. Ethan did not answer. He did not need to. The palace suddenly felt different to her. Its towers still rose against the morning sky, beautiful and familiar, but somewhere behind those windows was a person willing to silence 6 loyal wolves simply because they had noticed something they were never supposed to notice. Ghost stirred beside her. His nose lifted toward the palace. Then Ash did the same. Willow followed. One by one, all 6 wolves turned toward the northern wing. Ethan noticed immediately. What is there? Lily asked. The royal council chambers. Daniel went pale. Ethan crouched beside Ghost. Is that what you were trying to tell us? Ghost rose unsteadily. Lily reached for him, but he took one determined step toward the palace. Then another. The other wolves followed. They were weak, but their attention never left the northern wing. Ethan's wolf became restless. Lily felt something too, though she could not name it. A faint pressure beneath her ribs whenever the royal wolves moved. She closed her eyes for a moment. Smoke, cold air, wet grass, and beneath it all, another scent. Bitter, metallic, familiar. Her eyes opened. The poison. Ethan turned to her. You can smell it. I think so. Lily slowly faced the palace. It is faint, but it is coming from there. Ethan studied her with new intensity. Omegas were known for sensitivity to emotion and scent, but this was different. Lily had detected what trained healers had missed. Ghost pressed his head against her hand again, and Ethan's wolf answered with another powerful surge of recognition. Lily looked at him. Why does he keep doing that? Ethan hesitated. Ghost served my grandfather before he served my father. Royal Guard wolves remember things our people have forgotten. What kind of things? Before Ethan could answer, a palace bell rang 3 times. Daniel stiffened. Ethan immediately stood. 3 bells before sunrise meant only one thing. The Royal Council had called an emergency session without the king's authorization. A guard came running across the courtyard. Your Majesty, the council has assembled. Ethan's expression became cold. Who summoned them? The guard swallowed. Counselor Richard Vale. Ethan looked toward the northern wing. Richard Vale had served the Blackwood Crown for 27 years. He had also personally appointed Marcus Reed as stable master. Ghost suddenly growled. Lily felt the strange pressure beneath her ribs deepen. Ethan extended his hand to her. Stay beside me. Lily looked at his hand, then at the 6 wolves gathering behind her. Why me? Ethan's wolf answered before he could. Because they already chose you. Lily did not take Ethan's hand immediately. She looked at the palace, then at Ghost standing beside her, his white coat still carrying traces of smoke. If those wolves are right, someone in that room knows exactly what happened to them. Ethan lowered his hand, but remained beside her. Then we let them tell us. Minutes later, the doors to the Royal Council chamber opened. 12 council members sat around a long oak table beneath tall windows, turning silver with dawn. Conversation stopped when Ethan entered. It stopped completely when Lily followed him with Ghost, and the 5 recovering royal wolves behind her. Counselor Richard Vale rose slowly. He was a distinguished man in his 60s, with white hair and the calm expression of someone accustomed to being trusted. Your Majesty, this meeting concerns a serious breach of palace security. Ethan placed the recovered ledger on the table. For once, Richard, we agree. Richard's eyes flickered toward it. Only for an instant. Lily noticed. Ghost noticed too. The old wolf moved closer to her leg. The quarantine stable burned tonight. Ethan continued. Beneath it, we discovered a concealed passage containing poisoned feed, patrol records, and documents bearing a royal council seal. Uneasy whispers moved around the table. Richard remained composed. Then Marcus Reed has betrayed the crown. Marcus is missing, Ethan said. Conveniently. Richard turned toward Lily. And we are accepting the conclusions of a rejected Omega who violated quarantine orders. Lily felt every gaze settle on her. The old shame returned automatically, telling her to lower her eyes and disappear. Then Ghost leaned against her hand. She remembered 11 freezing nights when nobody else had come. She lifted her chin. You do not have to believe me. Richard smiled faintly. How sensible. But you should believe them. Lily looked at the wolves. They became weak after eating. Someone destroyed their old feed. Someone burned the stable after the king ordered an investigation. Those are facts. Ethan watched several council members exchange worried glances. Richard's smile disappeared. Your Majesty, Surely we should remove the animals and continue this discussion privately. At the word remove, all 6 wolves became still. Ghost's nose lifted. Lily felt that strange pressure beneath her ribs again. Bitter, metallic, stronger now. She slowly turned toward the far side of the chamber. A silver serving cart stood beside Richard's chair with a pot of coffee, cups, and a small wooden container. Ghost growled softly. Lily walked toward it. "Do not touch that," Richard said. Too quickly. Ethan heard it. Lily stopped beside the cart. The bitter scent was unmistakable. She pointed toward the wooden container. "It is here." Ethan opened it carefully. Inside was a dark powder. Richard stepped back. "I have never seen that before." "Then you will not mind explaining why it is beside your chair," Ethan said. Before Richard could answer, the chamber doors opened again. Captain Samuel Grant entered with 2 guards. Between them walked Marcus Reed. He looked exhausted, but unharmed. Richard's composure finally cracked. Marcus stared at the floor. "Your Majesty, I surrender." Ethan's voice remained calm. "Who ordered the wolves poisoned?" Marcus hesitated. Ghost moved beside Lily, and the other 5 wolves formed a quiet line behind him. Marcus looked at Richard. That single glance answered more than words. Richard shook his head. "Think carefully about what you say." Lily suddenly understood. Marcus was afraid, not of Ethan, but of the counselor. She stepped forward. "Tell the truth. No one here gets to decide that your life is worthless because you made a mistake." Marcus stared at her, stunned. Then his shoulders dropped. "The wolves discovered the hidden tunnel during a patrol 3 weeks ago. Counselor Vale ordered me to weaken them so they could not lead the king there." Ethan's eyes hardened. "Why?" Marcus looked directly at him. "Because the tunnel was never built to reach the stable, Your Majesty. It was built to reach your chambers." Silence filled the room. Ethan turned toward Lily. His wolf surged again, powerful and certain, but this time Ethan understood something deeper than the word mate. Lily had not merely saved Ghost. By refusing to abandon 6 creatures everyone else had dismissed, she had uncovered the path meant to destroy everything Ethan was sworn to protect. The tunnel was meant to reach Ethan's private chambers. For several seconds, nobody in the council room moved. Then Ethan looked at Captain Samuel Grant. "Seal every entrance to the northern wing and place the passage under guard." Samuel nodded. "Immediately, Your Majesty." Richard Vale pushed back his chair. "This is absurd. You are accepting the word of a frightened stable worker and an Omega who has spent 11 nights ignoring palace law." Ethan's gaze settled on him. "No, Richard. I am accepting evidence." He placed the ledger beside the wooden container. "And evidence does not care about rank." Lily felt something shift in the room. The same council members who had barely looked at her minutes earlier were now watching Richard. Marcus drew a slow breath. "There is more." Richard turned sharply. Marcus continued before fear could silence him. "The passage was completed months ago. I never knew its purpose until the wolves found it. Counselor Vale said the king had become too independent and that the council needed leverage." Ethan's face remained calm, but his voice grew quieter. "What kind of leverage?" Marcus looked toward the dark powder. "The poison was never intended only for the wolves." Lily understood before anyone said another word. Her eyes moved toward the coffee service beside Richard's chair. Ethan followed her gaze. Richard's expression changed. Not guilt exactly. Calculation. "Nobody drank from that pot," Lily said. Samuel immediately moved the cart away from the table. Ethan looked at Richard. "You called this meeting before sunrise." Richard said nothing. "You expected me to come directly from the fire," Ethan continued. "Tired, distracted, looking for answers." Lily stared at the coffee pot, remembering the bitter metallic scent. The wolves had not merely discovered the tunnel. They had recognized the same substance intended for Ethan. Ghost suddenly walked forward. His legs were still weak, but he crossed the chamber until he stood between Ethan and the serving cart. Then Ash joined him. Willow followed. Within seconds, all 6 royal wolves had formed a quiet barrier around their king. Lily's throat tightened. They had been trying to protect him all along. Richard stepped toward the doors. Samuel blocked his path. Ethan did not raise his voice. "Counselor Richard Vale, you are relieved of authority until a full investigation is completed." Richard stared at him. "You would trust animals and servants over a man who advised your father?" Ethan glanced at Ghost, then at Lily. "I trust those who protect life when there is nothing to gain from it." Richard had no answer. The guards escorted him from the chamber without struggle, and Marcus was taken separately to give a complete statement. When the doors closed, the silence felt different. Lighter. Lily finally released the breath she had been holding. Is it over? Ethan looked at the documents. The immediate danger is, the truth will take longer. Ghost returned to Lily and rested his head against her hand. Ethan watched the gesture carefully. There is something I need to understand. Lily looked up. About the poison? About you. Her shoulders stiffened. Ethan noticed immediately. You are not in trouble. People usually say that right before explaining why I am. Something in Ethan's expression softened. Ghost bowed to you. Lily looked down at the white wolf. Maybe he was tired. Royal Guard wolves do not bow from exhaustion. Ethan stepped closer, leaving enough distance not to crowd her. They recognize royal authority, ancient bonds, and something our records call the Keeper's scent. Lily blinked. I am a stable worker. That does not explain how you sensed the poison before trained healers, or why 6 royal wolves trusted you when they trusted almost nobody else. Ghost lifted his head. Then, one after another, the other wolves approached Lily and lowered their heads. Every council member still present went silent. Lily stared at them, overwhelmed. Ethan's wolf surged beneath his calm exterior with the same certainty it had carried since the burning stable. Mate. But Ethan finally understood that. Destiny was not permission to claim anything from her. Whatever this bond meant, Lily deserved the truth before a crown, a title, or even his feelings could define her. Then the oldest council historian rose slowly from his seat. His face had gone pale. Your Majesty, he whispered, staring at Lily. I know why the wolves recognize her. The historian crossed the chamber slowly, his eyes fixed on Lily as though a forgotten page of history had suddenly stepped into the room. His name was Henry Caldwell, and in 40 years of royal service, Ethan had never seen him look shaken. There was once a bloodline called the Keepers, Henry said. They did not rule. They protected the wolves who protected the crown. Lily glanced at Ghost. What happened to them? Henry's expression softened. They disappeared almost 30 years ago. Their gift was unusual. Royal wolves trusted them instinctively, and keepers could recognize changes in scent that ordinary wolves and even trained healers missed. Ethan understood immediately. The poison. Henry nodded. And there was another sign. When a royal wolf recognized a true keeper, it lowered its head willingly. Lily looked around her. 6 wolves stood quietly at her side. That cannot be me. What was your mother's name? Henry asked. Lily hesitated. Grace Carter. Henry closed his eyes briefly. Grace Carter was born Grace Bennett. She was the last recorded daughter of the Keeper line. Lily forgot how to breathe. Her mother had died when Lily was young, leaving behind little more than a few photographs, a silver pendant, and memories of a gentle voice telling her that kindness mattered most when nobody was watching. No one had ever mentioned royal wolves. No one had ever called her anything but an Omega. Why was I never told? She whispered. Henry looked toward the empty chair where Richard Vale had been sitting. That question may be connected to everything we uncovered tonight. Ethan saw uncertainty cross Lily's face and stepped closer, but he did not touch her. Whatever your bloodline means, it does not change what you did. She looked at him. Everyone treated me like I was useless. They were wrong before we knew. Your name carried history. His answer came without hesitation. Your worth did not begin when Ghost bowed. Lily's eyes glistened, but she smiled faintly. At that moment, morning sunlight entered through the tall windows. Ghost stepped into the golden light, then turned back toward Lily. Slowly, the old white wolf lowered himself before her. Ash followed. Then Willow, Ranger, Flint, and Snow. 6 royal wolves bowed in complete silence. Ethan's wolf rose inside him with overwhelming certainty. Mate. This time Ethan did not resist the truth, but neither did he mistake destiny for ownership. Lily deserved a choice. There is something else, he said. She studied him carefully. You have that look again. What look? The one you get when you know something everyone else does not. A quiet warmth touched his expression. My wolf recognized you before I understood why I kept returning to that stable. Lily became perfectly still. Ethan continued gently. He believes you are my mate. The room seemed to disappear around her. Believes. A bond can reveal a possibility. It cannot make your decision for you. Lily stared at the most powerful alpha in the kingdom and found no command in his face. Only patience. What happens now? She asked. Ethan looked toward the recovering wolves. First, we heal them. Then we uncover everyone involved in the tunnel. After that, you decide what you want your life to become. And if I do not want a crown, then nobody puts one on your head. Ghost nudged Lily's hand, almost impatiently. She laughed softly and scratched behind his ears. Ethan watched her, remembering the freezing stable, the thin coat she had given away, and 11 nights of kindness performed without witnesses. Outside, the palace bells announced sunrise. Lily had entered the night as the rejected Omega nobody noticed. She walked from the council chamber beside the Alpha King with 6 royal wolves following her. At the doorway, Ethan offered his hand again. This time Lily looked at it, smiled, and placed her hand in his. Ghost moved ahead of them into the morning light, and Ethan finally understood what his wolves had known from the beginning. The strongest heart in his kingdom had never needed a throne to prove its worth.